So just recently, TheOdd1sOut got into a bit of drama. And when I tell you this is absolutely insane, I mean it's generally one of the saddest situations I've seen in the YouTube animation community in a really long time. Like dude, TheOdd1sOut is literally the person who started the entire animated storytime genre on YouTube. And now his channel might be completely over. But before I break down everything that happened and show you guys all the details, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video because this situation is honestly crazy and you're gonna want to hear the full story. So buckle up because this is gonna be a lot. So for those of you who don't know who TheOdd1sOut is, what are you doing? But let me give you guys some context. TheOdd1sOut, whose real name is James Rison, is basically the godfather of animated storytime content on YouTube. Like he's the person who essentially created this entire genre that literally dozens of other creators have built their careers around. At his peak, his videos were pulling in tens of millions of views. And honestly it made sense because animated storytime content was fresh, new and unique when he started doing it. Audiences hadn't seen anything quite like it before, and the combination of personal relatable storytelling paired with simple but charming animation was a genuine novelty on the platform. But here's the thing, as TheOdd1sOut grew larger and his profile expanded beyond YouTube, like appearing at VidCon, being featured in YouTube Rewinds, and eventually landing his own Netflix show, his content began to shift. And he started aiming his videos at a younger, broader audience, which meant pulling away from the original storytime content that made him popular in the first place. And honestly, long-term fans felt like this was a betrayal of the audience that had built his platform. The content became more sanitized, more broadly appealing, and in the eyes of many original viewers, less authentic and less interesting. And not gonna lie, this long-running dissatisfaction with the direction of his channel is super important to understand, because when the firing situation emerged, it didn't land on neutral ground. Like a large portion of the public wasn't discovering reasons to dislike TheOdd1sOut for the first time. They felt like this situation was a confirmation of something they already believed about how he had changed. And honestly, that's why the backlash was so intense, because people had been frustrated with him for years, and this was just the final straw. So let me tell you how this whole situation actually started, because dude, it's kinda wild. The situation didn't even begin with anyone discovering the firings. It actually began with a tweet comparing the TheOdd1sOut current content style to a TikTok video mocking millennials. And the TikTok being referenced was this parody of out of touch humor where someone says things like, "Little known fact about me is that my favorite fast food restaurant is Chipotle, also known as Chipotle. So today I went there and I walked up to the register like this, and then I was like, can I have BTO please?" And the tweet was drawing a direct comparison between that kind of humor and how the TheOdd1sOut current content feels to viewers. And honestly, a lot of people agreed with it, like the replies filled up with people saying they found his content annoying. And it was just echoing years of accumulated frustration with his content pivot. But then in this pile-on reply chain, someone surfaced something that had been sitting quietly for a couple of weeks, which was a Discord message from one of his editors that revealed the entire team had been fired. And dude, this Discord message is what blew the whole situation wide open. The message was posted by a former team member on March 5th, 2026, and it read, "So the entire TheOdd1sOut team has been fired, which means my main source of income is gone. As you all know, it's about to be the dreaded tax season, and we are about to move. So I'll be doing commissions full time from here on out. I'd like to ask a big favor from you all to please boost my lovely co-workers' commissions to help support them as well." And not gonna lie, when the people saw this message, the internet absolutely erupted. Like the word entire stood out immediately because this wasn't one person being let go. This wasn't a small restructure, this was described as the entire team. And the timing was specifically noted as terrible because tax season was approaching, and this particular person was also in the middle of preparing to move home, so losing their primary income at that specific moment made everything so much worse. And what really got me was that the person explicitly asked their community to promote their co-workers' commissions as well. Like they weren't just looking out for themselves, they were immediately thinking about how to help their colleagues who were in the same situation. And honestly, that just shows how devastating this was for everyone involved. So when this message surfaced in the Twitter reply chain, a post about the TheOdd1sOut firing his animation team gained close to 100,000 likes on social media, and the top level reaction for most people was genuine disbelief. Like people were saying, I thought this was a joke. What do you mean he actually did this? And honestly, I had the same reaction when I first saw it, because TheOdd1sOut has over 20 million subscribers, so you'd think he could afford to keep his team employed. But then multiple former members of the TheOdd1sOut team came forward publicly to confirm their own experiences, and their statements are honestly heartbreaking. One former team member posted, "Yesterday I lost my job. It was very abrupt. I was the breadwinner of my household and paid most of the bills with this income I no longer have. I'll be pivoting to commissions immediately." And then they went on to confirm, "Yes, this was my job with TheOdd1sOut since this is pretty public knowledge now. Yes, this was my primary income. I worked 30 to 35 hours weekly for the channel, so the sudden layoff was pretty devastating to say the least." And dude, the detail about working 30 to 35 hours a week is so important because it shows this wasn't casual freelance work. Like this person was dedicating the equivalent of a full working week every week to the TheOdd1sOut channel. And honestly, when you read these statements from the former team members, it's just so sad because these are real people with real bills and real lives who suddenly lost everything. But the confirmation that generated the most concern about the channel's future came from Rushlight Invader, who was the lead animator for the TheOdd1sOut channel, and Rushlight posted, "Thank you for all the kind messages. Yes, I did get let go from my lead animator position from the TheOdd1sOut. I helped with 54 videos." And Rushlight then announced they had 9 years worth of exclusive behind the scenes TheOdd1sOut animation files available on their Patreon for those who wish to support them. And not gonna lie, when I saw that the Rushlight Invader got let go, I was like, dude, the channel is actually over. Because as lead animator, Rushlight was the person most directly responsible for the visual identity and animation quality of the channel. Like having been involved in 54 videos over 9 years, many viewers interpreted this as a signal that the channel as they knew it was effectively finished. So at this point, two major theories emerged in the wake of the firings. The first theory was that the TheOdd1sOut is quitting YouTube entirely, like the combination of declining views, only releasing 3 videos in the entire year of 2025, and now dismantling his entire production team led many to believe he was winding the channel down completely. And honestly, that theory makes a lot of sense when you look at the numbers. But the second theory was way more alarming, and that was that he's pivoting to AI generated animation. Like people were speculating that James was replacing his human team with AI tools to dramatically cut production costs. And dude, if this turns out to be true, this would actually be the worst possible thing he could do. Because AI replacing a beloved human animation team would be seen as a direct betrayal of both his audience and his former employees. And honestly, the reaction to this possibility online was uniformly negative. But then on March 6, 2026, the TheOdd1sOut published his official response, and his response addressed several points. First, he said, "We still have an animation team." Like his first move was to push back against the narrative that the channel was over. He confirmed that future projects would still have animators attached to them and that those artists would be credited in their videos. And then he described his working model as having always involved working with freelancers on a project by project basis, with team size fluctuating depending on the needs of each video. So his framing here was trying to establish that the team was never fixed or permanent, and that the recent changes were consistent with how he had always operated. But then he revealed a key piece of information, which is that despite having a sizable team, the channel only released 3 videos in the entire year of 2025, and he said this made it clear that he needed to fundamentally rework his production process. And also, this is not a significant admission because it implies that the team was effectively employed but not producing, and that something structural in his production pipeline was broken. And then he addressed how the conversations happened, and this is where his statement became most contested. James explicitly stated, "I had one-on-one conversations with every artist involved and had face-to-face conversations with everyone locally. This was not some cold, insensitive breakup text," and he confirmed that he provided severance packages to all full-time freelancers, noting this was not something he had intended to disclose publicly, but felt it was necessary given how the situation was being characterized online. But here's the problem, the former employees said it was abrupt, done on a whim one afternoon. There was no prior context. They were left with little to nothing to go off of, and they had no idea it would happen. And one former team member directly addressed James' claim of individual conversations and said, "I don't understand why most of you speak on the situation as if you were there for the layoffs too. Contracts were involved. It was abrupt and done on a whim one afternoon with no prior context. This is not a normal outcome even in freelance settings." But here's what I find really interesting about this whole situation. None of the former employees directed explicit anger at James or called for harassment against him. Like, despite losing their jobs suddenly during a financially stressful period, these were people who were focused on finding new work rather than tearing James down. Several went out of their way to say they did not want harassment directed at him. And honestly, this actually generated sympathy for the former team members because they came across as people dealing with a difficult situation with a lot of dignity. So where do things stand now? Well, as of right now, the contradiction between James' account and his former employees' accounts has not been reconciled. The future direction of the channel, whether it will continue, pivot to AI, or quietly wind down, remains unclear. And no further public statements have been made by James beyond his initial response. The former team members are actively seeking new employment and have made their portfolios public. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think the TheOdd1sOut handled this situation properly? Do you think that the former employees are telling the truth about how abrupt it was? And honestly, do you think this channel is actually over? Or do you think James is going to continue making videos with a smaller team? Because I'm genuinely curious to hear what you all think about this situation. And if you made it this far into the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe because we're trying to grow the channel and I would really appreciate the support. But yeah, that's basically the full breakdown of the TheOdd1sOut firing his animation team. It's honestly just a sad situation all around, and I hope the former team members are able to find new work and that James figures out what he's doing with his channel. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.